这里呢就是洛杉矶的 San Gabriel City。众所周知呢，加州以前是西班牙的殖民地，应该是在1769年的时候呢，当时的西班牙国王命令探险队从圣地亚哥进入了加利福尼亚州。当一个政权进入到一个新的文明的时候，他首先想到的应该是从意识形态上去占领它。所以当时呢，西班牙的方济各会就派出了一支由神父组成的队伍进入加州之后，从加州的圣地亚哥一直到索诺玛，用了将近是54年的时间，沿着加州绵长的824英里的海岸线修建了21个 mission。 所谓的 mission 呢，就是传教所。在我身后就是在21个 mission 行动当中的第4个，也由此可见San Gabriel 这个地区成为了洛杉矶非常古老的一个发源地。从刚刚的我们的San Gabriel的 mission 走过来之后呢，后面这个就是我们的San Gabriel Mission 的 Playhouse。Mission 的这个行动在中间发生了很多传奇的故事。当时呢，西班牙的这种传教士呢，就把这些传奇故事编成了戏剧。在1923年到1927年，西班牙人用了4年的时间建立了这座剧院。这座剧院呢，自从建立了以后呢，也是命运多舛，到现在它已经马上就要走过100年的历史了。今天呢，就跟着我们的艺术家 Evan， 我们进到 Playhouse 里面看一看原始的西班牙建筑的模样。Evan LeGrande Wilson 是一名从事古建筑壁画修复的艺术家。他出生在美国犹他州的一个小镇，父母都是音乐教师。从小他就跟随热爱绘画的母亲学习线条、色彩和比例。Evan大学就读于加州洛杉矶分校的政治系。大学时的一个偶然机会，他接触到为高档住宅画壁画的工作。这份工作唤起了他童年的记忆，让他也看到了自己身上闪光的天赋，并且感受到内心深处的热爱。于是他放弃了成为一名政治家的梦想，转学到有设计师摇篮之称的加州洛杉矶 Otis 艺术设计学院专修绘画。毕业后，他又去到了欧洲继续深造。凭借在欧洲的学习经历，近30年来，他修复的古迹遍布美洲、欧洲、日本和埃及，其中有教堂、歌剧院、博物馆、图书馆、天文台，还有各种类型的高档住宅。他最擅长的技法是在墙面、屋顶烧纯金金箔作画。这种几近失传的技法贯穿了欧洲的艺术史和建筑史。但如今可以成熟操作这项技法，并且结合高超绘画技能的艺术家却寥寥无几。我们现在来到的 San Gabriel Mission 的 Playhouse 是他在1997年就开始参与修复的项目。今天我特别邀请了艺海藏家的老朋友，华裔建筑设计师楼竞波先生。在我们之前的节目当中，曾经介绍过楼先生花了4年的时间修复位于洛杉矶韩国城诺曼底酒店的经历。2位古建筑修复设计师的相聚十分的投缘，真的是有聊不完的话题。你是从什么时候开始参与到他这个 Playhouse 的修复的工作当中的
？My first involvement with the Playhouse was in about 1997. And it was after a very large earthquake, and they decided that there were a lot of repairs that needed to be done. A lot of plaster fallen from the ceilings, was not safe to open. So the city did a campaign to repair it, and I met with the architects, and they selected me to do the repair of the paint. And
this is a ceiling was very have a resembling of the hotel ceiling. I was restoring it. So
nice.
So I'm kind of familiar with how the work to be done in this tall ceiling. Even the height is the same. This is like 22 feet, 24 feet ceilings. Assuming you're on a lift or
on the scaffolding.
Scaffoldings,
yes.
Right?
There was an interesting, we did the theater first, but when we were working on this ceiling, we had a rolling tower, scaffolding, climb up, paint. And I had a table right here, and I'm mixing the colors. My assistant was pushing the scaffolding and touched that, and the connection of it broke, and it fell down, and it hit the floor right next to me. It was very frightening.
Are these pictures original?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks really 1920s fixtures.
Tapestries on the walls are also original.
The tapestries too.
They were donated by King Alphonse of Spain, donated to the theater.
These patterns, the paintings on the ceiling, were they also the original designs?
Yes, these are all original designs, but many places the plaster had broken through, the paint had fallen away, and so we look at it carefully, match the color, and then repaint it and blend it in. So we repainted every surface, but have the exact same look of the original theater back in the 1920s.
古建筑的修复是一份非常艰苦危险的工作，不但需要有精湛的绘画技巧，还需要对历史时代建筑材料有着非常准确的认知经验，才可以修旧如旧，还原它们最起初时候的原貌。因为欧式的古建筑大部分都有着非常高的穹顶，而且像 Playhouse 这样的剧院是没有光线的。修复的时候，整个剧院布满了脚手架，艾文需要每天拿着一盏小灯，顺着屋檐爬上去。夏天的时候，屋里的温度会达到120华氏度。在这样的环境下，艾文每天要站在脚手架上，抬着头，举着胳膊，一站就是好几个小时。除了身体，另一个最艰难的是，在绘画的时候只能近距离的观察，因为就算回到地面上，在下面也只能看到满屋的脚手架，所以大多数时候他都只能凭借经验来确定自己的每个步骤是否正确。在所有的屋顶全部画完，脚手架即将要被拆除的前一天晚上，艾文会紧张地睡不着觉，他非常担心自己会不会有什么地方画错了。
Well, you're obviously a very good artist. You do oil paintings and also you're restoring.
Yes.
These are two different types of work.
It is.
Yeah, what's your mind when you do this and doing that? Or is that a different mindset?
It is a different mindset. It's art, but it's site-specific art, and it's not my art. When I sit down in front of a canvas, it comes from me. It's my idea, it's my design, it's my layout. When I'm doing restoration, then I have to put my ideas aside and I have to find out what the original artist intended and bring it back to the way the original artist intended it to be.
在2022年的12月，艾文在洛杉矶帕萨迪纳刚刚举办了个人画展，展出的都是艾文在过去不同时期的油画作品。在上周的时候呢，我刚刚去看了你的画展，感觉到你的这个油画作品里面有很强的怀旧的风格，是不是跟你每天修复这种古的建筑的艺术呢有很深的这种相互的关联？
That's a very good question. I often feel nostalgia, not just 20 years ago, but 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 500 years ago. That's why I like to go to Europe for inspiration. It is amazing to me how much talent humans have come up with from the beginning of time, from the ancient Egyptians to the Romans. But I don't always paint nostalgic scenes in my paintings. Sometimes I feel the need to do something contemporary, experiment with a different brush stroke or a palette knife painting, use colors differently. But when I want to do something that I know will survive the test of time and look good, then I go to traditional color mixes that would have been available 300 or 400 or 500 years ago. So I know that those are my favorites. I have a nostalgia for different periods of art history. Doesn't mean I don't love and appreciate contemporary art. I do love contemporary art. I appreciate it. My heart is really with the old masters, Rembrandt, Vermeer, Michelangelo, and throughout history, there were many fine artists that also did ceilings in the Opera Playhouse in Paris or something like that, So I think it's enjoyable for me to do both.
就是你在创造这些壁画的时候，你可能在修复古建筑的时候，更多的是来自你父亲给你的职业道德；而在创造你自己油画的时候呢，你更多的是来自母亲的创造力。
Thank you for noticing that. I didn't understand that until maybe a year ago. As my parents are getting older now, and I think about what I know about them, and I realize that I have parts of my father and parts of my mother. My mother was more spontaneous and creative and loved to paint. My father was a music teacher, but also very organized. The tasks of taking on a project and figuring out what steps to get it done, the execution of the project. My dad was a very hard worker. And as a result, I have been a very hard worker. Thank you for the question, and thank you to my parents.
就是在这个过程当中，你有没有很烦躁？因为它是一个非常枯燥的这样一个事情，而且每个工程你可能要进行很长时间。你有没有就想过，算了，不干了，走人，去他的？
Yes, there are some times where I have a bad day. Sometimes I paint the wrong color and realize that I have to start over and do it again. Sometimes I bend over to pick something up and I knock paint over and I have to stop and clean it up. Sometimes it's very hot. Sometimes we're on a construction site and there are welders and grinders and people cutting and the noise is really loud. And those things are difficult to deal with, but you just have to be professional and control what you have the ability to control. And then sometimes if one particular thing is not going very well, I switch and do something else. So there are ways that I can stay productive.
Another way is that you find a way to deal with your frustrations, but not quitting.
Yeah.
如果换了是我的话，我经常会夜里做梦从这个架子上掉下来。你有过吗？
I've never fallen, knock on wood. It is scary sometimes.